and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo. We're here at the South Park Center. I'm delighted to be joined with Derek with his movie Ignition. Let's take a little clip. Derek, really, thank you so much for coming across country.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
To be here, and thank you very, very much. And thank you for bringing your film to us. For those that haven't seen your film, tell us a brief synopsis.
Yeah, it's a sci-fi comedy about a kind of a lazy young guy that he learns that the sun is dying, and he decides to do something about it. He builds a rocket out of junk in his backyard. And it's not to save the world, it's really just to save his girlfriend's garden. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's kind of a magical realism kind of deal.
Yeah, it's a great act, well acted as well. Very good. No, seriously, really, it was a really fascinating idea. And I kind of love this sort of like family magical realism experience where, you know, you bring sort of fantasy and the opportunity to sort of close to home. It's lovely. Lovely for a lot of kids to watch as well, actually.
Yeah, thanks.
Where did you get the inspiration for the idea from? Hopefully not something to true life yet. But,
yeah,
you know.
no, it was so it started off as my girlfriend and I had just started dating. It was like, we're in like month 2. And she was going out of town. She left me in charge of all her plants. And I was thinking like, oh man, what if something happened that like is beyond my control? And, you know, having an overactive imagination, she was like, what if like the sun died? And it's, you know, it's on me to you know, keep her plants alive. And so that was kind of the seed of the idea. And I worked on it for a long time. I looked through the notes app on my phone. I had notes from that from like 8 years ago.
Wow.
And it wasn't coming together. It was funny, but it wasn't. It was just, you know, I wanted it to be light, but it felt shallow at the time, right?
Yeah.
And so when it really came together was when I lost some people that were really important to me, grandparents, like the family dog and stuff like that. And like it was like 3 grandparents and the family dog, like in a year span. And, you know, I'm kind of reeling from that, and I'm out of the military, I'm 30 and I'm going to college, and it just feels like, you know, is what I'm doing, like, would the people that I lost be like happy with what I'm doing? And it's like, or is it even my responsibility to do, you know, and you're really kind of struggling with that kind of stuff. It's like, is all the most important stuff I've done behind me and everything?
Yeah.
And so in a weird way, that clicked with that idea about having to like, you know, the pressure of saving the world, but really just trying to save your world. You know what I mean? And that kind of was how I worked through that, was just this idea of just kind of a peaceful acceptance of like, you can move mountains, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
And if you do, it should be for you and stuff
Absolutely.
like that. So that's kind of where that all, you know, gelled
Came together, yeah. Well, firstly, plant sitting's no joke. It's a responsibility.
It really is.
You know?
It's scary.
Yeah, scary. But what I love that it delved from that idea, and then, you know, of course, you know, when really true things happen to you and it affect you, and it sort of leads to a much deeper sort of circumstance. And, you know, again, it's so lovely because you're part of our veteran cinema program. So, you know, thank you so much for your amazing service, and what a great celebration we got to have. You know,
yeah, thanks for doing that. That's incredible.
Yeah,
it really is. Of all the festivals
veterans.
I've done, I think you guys are the first that have like a specific veteran block. That's fantastic.
Well, it's amazing to see how you've all become amazing filmmakers.
It's wild.
You know,
yeah,
it's
there was some amazing talent last night.
So when did you decide you're like, okay, so I'm gonna write, I'm gonna work behind camera, and then I'm gonna work in front too? How did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, you'll see a lot of actors will start making films to find something to act in. I kind of did the opposite. I always knew I wanted to make films, and I had no actors. So I was like, well, I guess I'll just act, because it was like I was making films with like my toys and stuff like that. And maybe if I can get one friend, cool. So it's like, it's one friend, and hey, I'm there, so I might as well. So now we've got 2 actors, and you know, you can have a scene. And so that's kind of where it started. So I'm just gonna throw myself on camera so that I have something to record.
How was that?
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think I realized I really liked it because it was great to imagine these stories and then get to like live that story.
Yeah.
So it's like, now I can't imagine not acting in my own film and you know, writing the story and then getting to participate like that. It's
well, thank you for saving the world in your film anyway.
Oh,
so,
yeah,
you
of course,
know,
feels good.
But it was a really lovely story. And I love how, you know, it really filtered with your childlike imagination, which I was like really enjoying as well. Like, you know, when you just have those games that you play as a kid and you just kind of like, what if we like were superheroes and we did this? And yet here you are as sort of like doing it from an adult perspective as well, which is really sweet. Did you kind of want to have that, you know, like you said, magical realism, childlike perspective?
Yeah. It kind of became that. You ever say a word so many times and you're like, is that even, am I saying this right? Or is that a word? That was magical realism. I was trying to tell, you know, because, you know, you've got all these collaborators and God bless them. You know, they're trying to, like, I had the colors looking up what would the light actually look like if the sun was dying. I'm like, I'm gonna stop you right there.
Yeah.
Like it's not that kind of thing. Yeah. It's, you know, it's very simplistic. Anything that's not tied to like the emotion, throw it out. You know what I mean? It's very simple. We're not gonna explain how his rocket works. It's just, it works because that's, you know, it's just gotta work. Yeah. And so, yeah, I really wanted that from the beginning, and I wanted, it to just feel really heartfelt and simple and earnest, and you know, it's not ironic, it's not cynical or whatever. And I just wanted that it's just to be really fun.
Yeah, no, 100%. Well, it was really fun. Was it fun to make though? How was the experience like being in it, directing, and then kind of creating this, you know, this sort of magical world?
Yeah, it was a blast. I mean, so, you know, I mentioned when I got started, I didn't have many collaborators. So when I do, I mean, I try to run set like a summer camp because I'm just so appreciative that anyone is there. And so much less, you know, for this, there was like 20 people there, and I'm trying to make sure we're having like a blast. Like we're doing, like we've got prizes for like whoever gets the most likes on an Instagram post during the shoot and stuff. And like it was one of the crew's birthday, and we had, you know, the scene with the big fake cake. We like brought that out and sang happy birthday with the cake.
Oh,
and stuff.
I love it.
So yeah, I really try to make sure everyone's just having a good time. You know, I wanted to be like I'm hosting a party because everyone there was working for free, and so they deserve to have at least have a really good, you know, weekend or 3-4 days out of it if they're not getting paid, you know, and eat really well and stuff. So,
it felt like having a good time.
Yeah, we all had a blast.
What was the biggest challenge you had making it?
Oof, the biggest challenge, I mean, we were building that fake rocket like up until the last minute. That was rough. I had a really good collaborator help me work on that. He started as early as he could, but it just, the logistics of it were nuts. And the whole crew had to like lift it up onto trash cans and stuff like that so it'd be high enough and everything. And so that was challenging. And just, yeah, that was probably the biggest one, is just building that rocket. Yeah. And I know that like, it only shows up in the film for like, I don't know, like 10 seconds or something. So I know when we brought it back down, everyone was like, excuse me? Yeah. But it was cool. Totally worth it.
So looking back on it, like, is there anything you sort of look back and think, or anything you learned from it, anything you had done differently?
Yeah, I mean, I really learned that kind of spirit of collaboration. I used to be really, you know, it's beyond hands-on. It wasn't that I didn't trust other people. I just didn't necessarily trust myself enough to be put together enough to like get a producer and be like, hey, come check out what I've been working on, because I didn't know if I was put together enough to have somebody, you know, enter my space. But having a crew that I could trust was such a godsend. Like I know, producer especially, like, you know, we're working on all the paperwork, and I'm about to try to send out 20 crew agreements or whatever. And he's like, no, I'll do that so that you can work on the creative stuff. Like I could have cried, you know what I mean? Just have someone, I'm like, you want to do that? Yeah. And so, you know, that was awesome. And just having, you know, like the DP, I trusted him to let me know if I was being like the wrong kind of funny, or, you know, a take wasn't good. Cause you know, I didn't want to be behind his back and have him show me every take or whatever. So that's the thing I learned the most, is just really surround yourself with people you can trust, and then trust them. And it was awesome.
And what's the experience been like having it in front of an audience and hearing their reactions? Because you can't help but react to your film, of course. Yeah. No, it's awesome. The very first time I showed this in a festival, my Apple Watch kept going off, and it was warning me that my heart rate was elevated, even though I wasn't doing anything. So it thought I was like dying, having a heart attack. Because I was like, oh my God, I'm watching my film, it's in a theater. Are they gonna laugh or whatever? But the reaction's been great. Like everyone laughs at the right parts, and you know, it's been a lot of fun. It's I've got a background in stand-up comedy. It reminds me a lot of that, where it's like, you know, just minute by minute, you're kind of tracking what are people enjoying or not, and they, you know, it's been great. Everyone seems to really get it and just go along for the ride. So your background's like comedy, and this is why you're so fascinating to watch. Then you see on camera, that's amazing.
Yeah, I've definitely got a performative streak. So,
that's amazing. And what's that like? I mean, there's obviously no similarities, but I think one of the things someone mentioned even last night was this kind of essence of like being able to be, you know, leadership and embracing your team. Is there any kind of essences that you've taken from your background in the military into filmmaking? I mean, is there a crosswire somewhere?
Yeah, there definitely is.
Obviously very different experiences.
Yeah, there definitely is. I mean, you know, not to say like, I wouldn't say I was a leader when I was in the military, but the biggest takeaway is like, I don't panic. like, you know what I mean? Something's going to go wrong in every single shoot you'll be on.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing I learned, especially in the Coast Guard, we're doing search and rescue and stuff like that. And it's like, you know, I'll never forget one of the things we did is like, they gave us a task to do and we all failed at it. This is in boot camp. And they gave it to us to do again with less time. And we're like, well, we're obviously going to fail worse this time, but you have to do it. And you do that over and over again. And you fail and you fail and you fail. But it's just that process of just like, well, what's the next thing? And you just have to do something and you don't freeze, you don't panic. And, you know, obviously it's a lot easier making a film than doing like search and rescue or whatever. But that was a big takeaway. It was just, and I think especially in film school, students can panic because it's new or whatever.
Absolutely.
And, you know, that helped a lot. It's just knowing that just whatever's going on, you just take the next step.
That's a great piece of advice. What's next for you?
I'm writing a feature. I'm making a film about, it's a kind of a sci-fi thriller. It's a 70s UFO thriller about
cool.
it. Yeah. It's a park ranger who, in the process of looking for like a missing hiker, uncovers UFO phenomenon in his national park. And so,
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And that's been a lot of fun. I'm like kind of, you know, it's taken a while to write, but it's because I'll like write and then I'll go on hikes at the place I want to film and be like, can we do this? You know, I'm trying to do it as cheap as possible. And I want it to, you know, taking a bunch of people out in the woods. I don't want to waste any time. And so I'm finding cool spots and I'll go and write for it. So it's been a lot of fun.
Are you going to be shooting that in Florida?
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, Florida's
Excellent.
got, we actually, I'm not too far from the springs where they shot Creature from the Black Lagoon and stuff like that. There's a bit of a history there. And so I'd like to kind of rediscover those areas and stuff like that. Yeah.
Amazing stuff. And lastly, Derek, if there's a piece of advice you could share as a filmmaker that you can kind of share with other filmmakers out there that supports you in your journey, what would you like to say to them?
Yeah, I think as far as advice, and it's actually kind of something in the spirit of the film, is just start anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna seem insurmountable no matter where you start. So just get started. The best camera's the one you got, the best sound gears, whatever you have access to. You know, the crew size, the right crew size for you is however many people you can get. You know, next weekend. Just don't wait. You know what I mean? Like there's always gonna be better gear. There's always gonna be, you know, a better time. Just start anywhere.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. Well, listen, thank you for coming to meet us in LA. Thank you for bringing your film to us, and we're looking forward to many more of your projects.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This has been a blast.
Thank you, Derek, everybody.